This is the 71st episode of the Effective Executive podcast and YouTube channel. And this week I wanted to talk about, continue a theme. I talked last week about longevity, and I also did an episode on kind of 2022 and what I see coming. And I'm going to kind of maybe repeat some of those things because I think it's really important right now for a lot of organizations. So I've titled this episode, Value Creation is the Future. And let me just kind of follow the logic of where I'm coming from. You certainly are welcome to have your own opinion and what you're seeing, but I believe the world's economy is on the verge of an economic collapse. When I can't pinpoint a date, but possibly this year, as early as this year. The mismanagement of the Fed in the U.S. and the overspending of governments around the world are kind of putting us in a position where everything is overvalued. Real estate, stocks. I mean, you pretty much name it, and those are obviously the big two. They created basically a lot of excesses that will lead these massive bubbles to burst. And, having been an investor for a long period of time, I see these excesses in cryptos. I think the intention of crypto is very good. I'm not necessarily against cryptocurrency, but to me, it's become a Ponzi scheme and is reflective of excesses in the market and should be treated as speculative, which means gambling. And there are a lot of high-flying businesses right now, like I saw back in 1999 in the dot-com bubble, where organizations have very fragile business models. And I believe that these will disappear once the reckoning comes, the reconciliation of these excesses. Moving forward after the collapse, or even before, you're going to need to create solid, profitable business models, and I believe that will become the new rage once things fall apart. I think a lot of people are going to be hurt. Organizations are going to be hurt. Jobs are going to be lost very deeply. It's going to affect all of us. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but we have entered an environment where, especially in the U.S., we're not making anything anymore. This whole scheme, I'm not talking just about cryptos, but our economy is being held up by money that is freely available. It has exacerbated the gap between the poor and the rich. And when this collapse happens, I believe that the poor are going to be even worse off, and there will be more in that class. And again, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm investing and planning for a much different future than the way things are currently. And people that didn't go through the 99 or the 1987 collapses are, I think, in for a very big surprise. And I also think that some of the people that, even in my class, age of people, are going to look at the 1929 collapse of the market and the subsequent depression, and this will be something on that level, if not much worse. So, not very good news, but that's what I'm seeing in the environment. I do take kind of a Austrian economics view of things. I was taught Keynesian economics in college in my economics classes. But the Austrian school seems to be the one that's getting it more right these days. So that's what I see. So let's look about what we can control, because those are things that I think are well beyond the control of most organizations. Um, this means that value will need to be created moving forward. Uh, Not for investors, but for customers, um, because we're going to have fewer dollars at some point chasing more goods and services. Um, if what I believe will happen will happen. So, how does my organization or your organization create value for customers? Well, this is obviously the topic of my entire episodes, both in the podcast and the YouTube channel. And it seems simple enough, but with so much focus on pressing investors, I think a lot of these organizations that I talk to, especially in the software world, have lost track of what value even looks like. So, there's two things that really stand out that you will need to be doing. I would suggest now, but the first one is that you need to create an organization whose design, metrics, purpose are all focused on the customer. The rest of the things will take care of themselves, as far as the financials themselves, if you're doing those things. Now, I look at the Amazon model, which was one of the ones that survived the dot-com burst. And Jeff Bezos was, was not profitable for many, many, many years when he first started. And, I think that some of those models can survive if they are creating value, which I believe Amazon was at the time. But, in order to create this value for customers, you will need your frontline customers facing employees to have freedom to do so. In other words, to focus on the customer, and that the design of your organization, the metrics, your purpose have to be in concert with each other. It's pretty simple. Not many businesses are actually doing this these days. The second thing is you've got to innovate constantly and intentionally. It has to be in a part of your organization, has to be integrated so well in your organization, it just becomes something that you do, that you have some type of system that will allow you to look at things in a new way, try different things, and these two things are really the ways that you can create value for customers. And all of these things should be tested out, whether you're designing a different organization or metrics or purpose or whatever it is. As you start to make your organization different, you can do it on a small scale. You don't have to, unless you're a really small organization, which I really haven't worked with super small organizations in a long time. But we'll need to, with these organizations, you can put a smaller team together and try things out and see how some of these things work and work out the kinks, learn something. Oh, that didn't work, but we are trying new things on, constantly and intentionally. And so, building that type of organization now, I think will really serve you well, not only now, but also after the bust that I'm expecting. So that's what I wanted to cover this week. I know this theme that I have right now of what I see happening in 2022. Again, I hope I'm completely wrong, but I just don't see it at this point. I think we've really backed ourselves into a corner here in the U.S., and I don't see any of the economies. China's very leveraged. There's this could get really really ugly. So keep your head up, and that's what I wanted to cover this week. And I will catch you next week.